Karibu sana to the show. Hope your weekend was well. As always, start off by looking at your papers this morning, see what you're waking up to as far as your papers are concerned. We'll also look at some stories and highlight some stories that were big over the weekend, and then talk about the politics of development. Where do we stand with that, and what's overshadowing the other? Is it the politics or the development? Have a very able panel to go through that particular discussion this morning. But before all of that, as always, let's see what you're waking up to this morning as far as your papers are concerned. Front page of your People Daily, home betrayal angers Uhuru. President's allies say he is disinterested in the ongoing clamor to unite central Kenya, since what he felt was a solution to the region, that is the Building Bridges initiative, was fought by the same crowd now asking for what BBI had promised. That's on page 4 of your People Daily. Some pundits from the region and of course leaders of that particular area, Nyeri MP Ngojiri Wambogo, saying he feels completely betrayed and frustrated by the very people he believes he wanted to assist. Kanini Kega talking about it, saying he's wondering how he will support them, yet they are the same people who opposed his initiative. We have nominated MP Minor Commander, the same people who opposed the BBI, and now shouting loudly about the same issues they campaigned against. This can be found on page 4 of your People Daily this morning with all the details of that right there. Also on matters politics and still on the front page of your People Daily, Ruto makes about turn on politics in churches. DP is asking clerics to reconsider their ban on politicians speaking in places of worship, saying they are Kenyans with the freedom to sell their ideologies anywhere. That can be found on page 5 of your People Daily, the details of that therein. NEC to undertake grade 6 CBC pilot assessment. The test, which begins today and will end on Friday, is to be conducted in 215 schools. It's supposed to establish the efficacy of tools to be used in the final evaluation process. This, of course, will be something that they are piloting even as they move forward in this particular transitory phase. You can find this on page 6 of your People Daily. And right next to that, still on education, experts warn sex education taught early. They say knowledge imparted early will bring down cases of teenage pregnancy. You can find this on page 2, 22 and 23 of your People Daily this morning. Let's scroll down. So they have on the second page of the PD. More on that. Introduce sex education in schools, urge experts. Health specialists say knowledge will curb rising cases of teenage pregnancies in school. Of course, this coming off World Contraception Day, which was marked over the weekend. Health experts have called for the introduction of controversial sex education in schools to curb the rising number of teen pregnancies. This was especially underscored during the COVID-19 pandemic, and all schools were closed at that particular point in time. And some experts said probably because of the lack of knowledge, this is what brought us to where we are. You can find this in detail on page 2. Also on the second page, 3 Nanyuki prison escapees charged with murder at 17 years. Three of the inmates who escaped from Nanyuki prisons had on October the 24th, 2017, reportedly murdered Lemalwan Lesondoreka in Kilimoni, Laikipia, North Sub-County when they were only aged 17. You can find the details of this particular story in your copy of your People Daily with all of that therein. 13 counties to benefit from 2.3 billion shilling value chain project. 13 counties are set to benefit from this particular project brought together by the Royal Danish Embassy and the European Union pilot program to enhance value chain and agrify. You can find the details of that as well in your copy of your People Daily, the details of that right there. This is what you can find in your copy of your PD, and you can also get your PD on your phone. The number that you dial is *550*4#. It's brought to you by the People Daily and Safaricom. Let's see what else we have on the rest of the papers this morning. Front page of your Daily Nation, signs of trouble. Parliament is sitting on laws required to help plan for next year's general election. Treasury has reduced and delayed disbursement of funds, and Communications Authority is yet to ensure 3G coverage in all polling stations. So all the issues that IBC Chair Wafula Chebukati has been talking about for quite a while still seem unresolved as we move closer to the polls right there. In his situation brief, catalogues the hurdles that are there, talking about planning to fail even as we move forward. And you can find the details of this in your copy of your Daily Nation. As we look at the Daily Nation as well, let's scroll back up and see what you have right there. Taxman reaps 1.5 billion shilling from fuel price increase. April last week set in motion an increase in fuel prices and the cost of living after it failed to receive monies from the stabilization fund to cushion consumers. And just from that, of course, that particular kitty getting 1.5 billion shillings from that particular levy. You can find this on page 10 of your Daily Nation rather. Let's scroll down and see what you have right there. Hospitals can breathe as COVID-19 admissions drop. You can find this as well on page 8 of your Daily Nation this morning. Not again, schools demand new terms fees. They're calling it a cash headache. With learners in primary and secondary school closing for a one-week holiday, parents must pay fees on October the 10th, the fourth time they will be doing so this year. They say they would struggle to raise money when learners go back to school. It's been an issue of this particular unusual academic calendar. You can find this again in your copy of your Daily Nation. On matters government deals, nurses, here's the UK deal. Those going abroad will earn up to 3 times the salaries in Kenya. You can find this on the back page of your Daily Nation. This a deal that was cobbled together by the Kenyan government and the UK government. You can find the details of that again in your copy of your Daily Nation. Let's see what else we have. Move on to the Standard now. Front page of the Standard, Ruto Raila reap in season of defections. Time for Deputy President and ODM leader to harvest as politicians like Governor Waiguru move to different political formations in the name of listening to the supporters on the ground ahead of polls next year. You can find this on page 5 of your Standard this morning. As you can see right there, Elders to Moi, go and conquer. Baringo Senator Gideon Moi is prayed for at the AIC Tandui in Sacho, Baringo County yesterday. As you can see the details of that right there. Now, not only have the elders given him that go-ahead, we also had that from delegates of various KANU branches at this particular point in time. So for the chair of KANU, it seems like it's all systems go as far as the presidential ticket is concerned. You can find the details of that right there. Let's see what else we have. Move to the front page of your Star now. Front page of the Star, MPs plot to lock out graft suspects from poll. Lawmakers seek to amend Leadership and Integrity Act and the Elections Act. You can find this on page 4 and 5. Speaker of the National Assembly has been notified of bill in the works. They're calling it a bombshell if this gets to the floor of the House. You can find that right there. But the Star also recapping a busy weekend as Raila and Ruto continue to woo voters. This pictures, of course, of some of their rallies as they moved around and addressed various citizens right across the country. You can find this in your copy of your Star this morning, the details of that right there. Investigations also taking place, eyes on EACC and DPP as MPs unmask firms in the 7.6 billion shilling KEMSA PPE loss. The report has been tabled, so the question is, from here, what do the EACC and DPP do as far as successful convictions and, of course, recovery of assets is concerned? That is on page 6 of your Star this morning. Finally, let's look at the front page of your Business Daily. It's all about matters at the boss. Half of NSE firms yet to recover from COVID. Of 58 active counters, 31 trading below the price when virus was reported. As you can see right there, top losers by market value: Stanbic, I&M, Centum, Scan Group, Bamburi, Co-op, Diamond Trust, Absa Bank, EABL and Stanchart. So you can see the financial sector, the banking sector, hard hit by COVID-19 and of course shedding some value at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. You can find that on page 4 of your Business Daily this morning. Also in the Business Daily, Mombasa-Kisumu passenger train to resume in December. Travelers from Mombasa to Kisumu through Nairobi will from early December get seamless train services linking the standard gauge railway line and the refurbished meter gauge track. Some good news for commuters using that particular route. You can find this as well in your copy of your Business Daily. The details of that particular story can be found right there on page 3. So at a glance, that's what you're getting up to this morning as far as your papers are concerned. More details of that, of course, not only in your papers. Some of these headlines is what we'll be discussing on the show as well. But also, there's some stories that we'll be highlighting as well over that occurred over the weekend. Let's look at some of those as well. Now, for the second day running, ODM leader Raila Odinga camped at the vote-rich Mount Kenya region to advance his calls and 2022 presidential bid. Odinga met with various groups, including PNU leadership, that was aimed at forming a working partnership between the two political outfits. And as Martin Opio reports, Odinga says that corruption remains the only impediment that hinders the country from achieving its development goals.
From his campaign meeting in Nakuru on Saturday, Odinga proceeded to Laikipia, where he held talks with PNU leadership with discussions centering on the possibility of the two political parties forming a coalition ahead of the 2022 polls. While at a PCA church service in Nanyuki, Odinga used the opportunity to rally the congregants behind his peace calls, which he said was important at a time that the country was headed to the general elections. The ODM leader chided the Deputy President William Ruto's campaigning model during an impromptu address by the roadside, terming it as demeaning to the youths, while promising a better model for the youths in the event he forms the next government.
Sasa maisi taki wasaliti. Nataka nitembee na vijana. Mko tayari kutembea na mimi?
His tour would see Odinga get endorsement from the small and medium enterprises moguls who promised the ODM leader backing while affirming their confidence in Odinga, whom they labelled as a less vindictive person.
If we can rein in corruption in our country, we deal with wastage, pilferages, there's no reason why our country cannot take off.
Raundi baba usijaribu kuona hiyo mamba. Sasa hii jeshi yote imeklia hiyo mamba na itakuwa sawa sawa.
Outlining some of the key partnerships that the Kibaki and President Uhuru administrations has been able to achieve while working with the former premier, Odinga allies reiterated the need for the mountain and the lake region to come together for the purposes of the 2022 polls.
Baba has been consistent. His message has always been consistent. Amepigania yule Mkenya ambaye yako chini. Amesimamia yeye. Wameshikana sasa na Mheshimiwa Uhuru walete Kenya pamoja. Sijui kama mnakubaliana na hiyo jamani.
Nakwambia Kenya hii ziwa ikikutana na mlima. Nakwambia ziwa ikikutana na mlima. Hii Kenya hii utaona itakuwa ni tofauti.
Mwenye alisukuma Kibaki mpaka akaingia ndani yuko hapa sasa. Kila wakati mlikuwa mnasema kuja na baba, kuja na baba, kuja na baba. Sasa baba yuko hapa.
Nchi 34 za Kiafrika ziko na uchumi mdogo kuliko uchumi wa hawa watu wa Mlima Kenya. Na leo mimi nikasema sioni ikiwa poa eti mtaelezwa nyinyi nyote na uchumi yenu mtawekwa kwa wheelbarrow sijui mpelekwe wapi.
Odinga's mission to climb the mountain has seemingly been a different one as compared to previous years where he seemed to have faced extreme rebellion, even as more meetings are planned out for Odinga to edge out William Ruto's growing influence in the region. Odinga is set to escalate his Mount Kenya invasion with a Tuesday meeting set to take place between influential businessmen derived from Mount Kenya Foundation in Nairobi.
Wengine walisema Raila hawezi kupanda milima.
Martin Opio, K24 TV.
Still on politics now, Deputy President William Ruto yesterday took his bottom-up economy narrative to Meru County as a scramble for the vote-rich Mount Kenya region goes a notch higher. The DP and his UDA faction have vowed they will not be cowed by political coalitions and formations, saying he'll team up with Wananchi, who will be the decision-makers in the coming 2022 August general election, as Giverson Minor now reports.
Deputy President William Ruto on Sunday took his bottom-up economy narrative to Meru County, where he began by gracing a service at AIPCA Church Timau in Buri constituency.
Kuna hata wengine wanahubiri neno la Mungu kwa mashindano. Kumaanisha hata kuna watu wengine wanakuja kanisani kwa mashindano ya siasa. Lakini Paulo anasema hata hiyo ni mzuri. Bora neno la Mungu linahubiriwa, hiyo maneno ni mzuri.
In what has threatened to spike a division among the church fraternity, the DP urged religious leaders not to throw out politicians, saying they were believers first and then people-chosen leaders.
Wameona vile nimezidi na kukuja kanisani, Mungu amezidi na kunisukuma. So wengi wameona pengine kuna maneno huko kanisani. Na wameanza kutambua ya kwamba Mungu ndio kusema. Mimi nawaomba tafadhali maaskofu msifukuze hawa watu.
If the church is intimidated to the extent that mnataki tuongee ukweli, then tunamaliza dunia. Kwa hivyo wale kanisa wamesimama kukubali lazima tuyaseme. Basi na washukuru.
Harambee! Harambee!
The second in command followed by addressing supporters in Makutano, where he directed scathing attacks at ODM leader Raila Odinga and the One Kenya Alliance principles, saying he will not be cowed by formed political coalitions and even those in the offing.
Wale wametengeneza gengi yao ati wanatupangia viongozi kadhaa.
Mimi nauliza nyinyi, hata wajipange kiasi gani, genge ya watu 7-8 watawezana na jeshi hii yote ya mahasla wa Kenya?
The once staunch supporter of Jubilee Party, now turned government critic, denied claims that he was radicalizing youths and propelling socio-economic divisions through his hustler nation politics, saying the current economic situation is worsening and ought to be addressed.
Kazi ya vijana ipatikane, kazi biashara ya kina mama iongezeke. Hiyo ni kuchochea watu. Watu wawache mchezo bwana, wawache mchezo.
Pushing for the much criticized bottom-up economic model, Ruto and his UDA faction say the proposed model will empower the people, hence empowering them to broaden the tax base and in return help the country to reduce the rising burden of debt.
Wakenya wote wanataka kulipa ushuru kwa sababu wanataka wapate nafasi ya kazi, wapate nafasi ya biashara, ndio waweze kulipa ushuru, ndio Kenya iweze kukua tukienda mbele.
Giverson Minor, K24, Nairobi.
Okay, thanks for that, Giverson. Let's step away from politics for just a bit now. As Kenya joins the world in commemorating the World Contraception Day, the Ministry of Health singled out marginalized groups and people living with disability as persons who have not been so lucky with access to family planning solutions. This, they fear, could reverse the progress made so far, even as unavailability and reliance on donor funding continue to be a challenge. Ben Karira had this report.
According to the Ministry of Health, over 6.3 million women use modern contraceptives in Kenya, bringing modern contraception rate to 61%. However, 17% of women of reproductive age in Kenya have an unmet need of family planning. This could be made worse by a halt in donor funding for the same by 2023. In our visit to Langas, a low-income settlement in Uasin Gishu County, we meet Florence Nyokabi. Her child is her only bundle of joy. She, however, had to drop out of primary school in class 8 after she conceived at the age of 18.
Sikuwa nimepangia, nilikuwa tu shule ile yenye mnapatananga na mtu anakuambia mnaweza relationship hivyo hivyo. Sikia nilipata mimba. So wakati nilipata mimba nikazaa mtoto.
With her education at a sudden halt, Florence learned and embraced family planning. However, before opting for a 5-year implant, she encountered some challenges.
Kuzaa mtoto nikaanza kutumia miezi 3 shindano ya miezi 3. So kuna wakati nilikuja hapa kwa kiwanja ya bure free. So nikaona kuliko hii ya miezi 3, sometimes nakosa hiyo so ya kulipia. Sometimes sina kabisa.
Misconceptions in the society are further said to escalate negativity around birth control.
Ukipata AIDS, inamaanisha unaweza kuwa umerun your whole family lineage.
22-year-old Suleiman Mwangi, one who has wholly embraced the use of condoms, worries for his fellow youth who have shunned from contraceptives.
Maboys wengi wanajiangalia tu wao, hawajalinga about their partners. So huwezi pata boys wa huku ghetto wanaanza kwambia dem yake twende tudungwe shindani, twende hivi, twende VCT ama hawananga hiyo time.
Mwangi has on his part encountered his fair share of challenges of unavailability of contraceptives.
Huwezi pata mse ako available, anakupea CDs ama anakuteach about your sex education hivyo, kujiprotect contraceptives hivyo, haupati, si rahisi.
On the other side of town, it's a different story. But the unavailability of contraceptives is also common.
Mwingine anasema ukidungwa depo utanona, mwingine ukidungwa depo utakonda.
30-year-old Peter Mwangi is well aware of contraceptives, even with the challenges he has had in accessing them.
Nadhani kwangu it was hata ikukuwa option ya tutumie ama tusitumie. I think it was the only option. Lazima tutumie, haina otherwise. Lazima tupange familia because okay tunataka watoto kadhaa. Hata ikifika siku ya clinic, ninajua mimi mwenyewe ninajua anaenda clinic ya mtoi na anajua siku anaenda kudungu. Na siku hiyo hata mimi najitolea.
Uasin Gishu and Nyandarua counties are unique for not passing the costed implication plan, which requires each county to set aside a budget line for family planning.
Much more like you are encouraging young people to engage in sex, which is not the thing per se.
The reality is well known to Steve Biko, Uasin Gishu County Coordinator at the Family Health Options Kenya.
I would really want to talk about the young people. They are not really accessing these commodities. The organization currently does not have any funding.
He notes that during donor funding, his team will attend to over 500,000 users of family planning commodities, a number that has drastically reduced with reduced funding.
When you start talking about contraceptive and how to minimize that bit of people giving birth, then it means that they are also looking at it like the revenue allocation is going to go down for them as politicians.
The Ministry of Health today, while celebrating the World Contraception Day, has expressed optimism in achieving full access of family planning solutions across the country at affordable prices.
To increase public funding and reduce reliance on donors, the government and its development partners agreed on a formula that would have family planning fully financed domestically by 2024.
Private sector players, among other stakeholders, are expected to play a major role in actualizing availability of adequate funding. Ben Kirera, K24, Nairobi.
Okay, let's move on from that particular day that was marked to another that is month-long. Now, September has been the Deaf Awareness Month, with the Society for the Deaf raising awareness on how to bridge the gap to accommodate the group in the society. Robbie Omondi attended a church service yesterday, where preaching was done using sign language, and brings us this report.
Persons living with hearing impairment have for a long time felt discriminated when they visit different places like hospitals, offices and even churches, most of the time being difficult for them to understand their surroundings or being understood.
Some people will accept themselves as deaf.
Every year, the month of September is Deaf Awareness Month. That helps in engaging and highlighting the plight of the deaf.
We had activities of basic KSL, Kenya Sign Language training to the children, to the members of the service of the church.
At this Full Gospel Church in Bahati, Nairobi County, the church service is conducted in sign language, which is not common in many churches.
We can be able to include them. We have deaf pastors, we have deaf singers, we have deaf interpreters, and so we can be able to get all of them into a service to make them feel more appreciated.
This being just one way of involving the deaf and making them feel at home, considering sign language is their only way of communicating.
Wakidungwa ile chanjo, wanahofia wanaweza enda kwa kufa, wengine watapata magonjwa about the information ambazo wanapata kule nje. Wanasema wakienda hospitali hakuna interpreters. Tumekuwa na challenge, kuna mmoja ambaye alidungwa shindano 3. So hajui, akisikia kuna chanjo mahali fulani anaenda. Sasa kwa kule wale wanafanya hizo chanjo hawaelewi communication, na kuwa there is a communication barrier.
This, they hope, will be an example to be emulated by offices and hospitals where the deaf are usually left out.
All our hospitals, most of them doesn't have interpreters. We encourage them to employ interpreters to give service to our deaf communities, to support in area of communications. Even school and colleges, we are encouraging all of them to do so.
Robbie Omondi, K24.
Thanks for that, Robbie. And of course, it is the entire month of September, so I think it goes all the way until Thursday this week. You can play a part in that. Let's see what else we have. Are we looking at our international feed? That's what we have as far as those stories are concerned. Now, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, to issue verdict on Kenya-Somalia maritime border dispute on October 12th. Deputy Prime Minister Kadar Gulaid has said the hearing was done in March 2021. Kenya has been pushing for an out-of-court settlement as far as this particular maritime dispute is concerned. You can find this in detail on the SBC Somali TV Twitter feed. The details of that right there. That's what else we have. On the Reuters feed, Chinese state media said the release of Huawei Chief Financial Officer Meng Wanzhou is an opportunity for a reboot of bilateral relations with the United States and Canada, but a quote-unquote toxic political rhetoric could still poison the atmosphere. This, of course, has been an issue of concern as big tech, as far as China is concerned, receiving an onslaught as far as the technology is concerned right across the country. You can find this in detail, of course, as well on the Reuters Twitter feed. What else do we have? CNN International's Twitter feed, new air quality guidelines published by the World Health Organization could prevent millions of deaths globally each year. This coming from the UN. You can find the details of that as all agencies try to come together to battle climate change. You can find that in detail in your on the Twitter feed as far as CNN is concerned. Updating this particular guidelines after 15 years. This could be what's needed to avoid millions of deaths even as we move forward and improve the quality of air right across the globe. You can find that again on the CNN International Twitter feed. And finally, CNBC International Twitter feed. German election exit polls indicate that the Social Democratic Party is virtually neck and neck with the Conservative Alliance after one of the country's most significant votes in recent years. Even as they go to the polls, you can find this as well on the CNBC International Twitter feed at this particular point in time. Who succeeds Angela Merkel as Chancellor of Germany? She's been at the helm of this particular country for over 15 years on this. You can find the details of that as well on the CNBC's Twitter feed. So at a glance, that's what you're looking at in your news, both domestically and internationally. Also leads us to our first break on the show. We come back after the break, of course. Lots to discuss right here. Don't go too far. This is a morning review.
Jumatatu yako sasa ni tofauti. Moja kwa moja Gavana Mutahi Kahiga, Joseph Olelenko, karibu sana ndani ya Keto.
Asante sana Daniel.
Salim Davadi, kwanza ni kusalimu. Maswala ibuka na tathmini za kina hazitakosekana.
Sina nafasi ya kurudi nyuma na sina starehe ya kusarenda.
Kumekucha, kumepambauka. Mafumbo ya wanasiasa na viongozi wengine yatafumbuliwa, wahusika wakiwa kikaoni. Kuna uwezekano wa wewe kumuunga Raila Odinga mkono tena
kama kuna deni imelipwa bwana.
Huwezi sema kwamba tuchague kati ya Raila na Ruto. Mbele yeye alikuwa mambo ya trickle down, sisi tuko mambo ya bottom up.
Uwe ni ushindani wa sera, utoaji wa hadi kochokocho, hutakosa la kuchangia.
Sasa wangeendelea sasa na hiyo lifestyle audit, tuende kwa mwingine.
This is not that Kenya of the 80s and 90s, my friend. This is a new Kenya.
Kila kwenye gumzo